What is going on? Welcome inside the Red Mile Rundown, episode number 43. I don't know if people start calling their seasons like season 2 of the podcast, but if we did that, Robert, this would probably be season 2 kickoff of the podcast for the new season as we are getting close to training camp, close to rookie camps, close to people reporting for camp, close to the golf tournament for the Flames. Very exciting times around the Calgary Flames. Of course, I am your host, Johnny Soap, and alongside me, as always, Robert Munich. How are we doing, Robert?
Doing great. It's crazy. Like by the time that we talk next week, there'll actually be real Calgary Flames hockey to be talking about because the rookies are going to play on Friday and Sunday, which is awesome. So I'm pretty excited to get this season going here. This off season has it's been too long. It's been too quiet. It's just been awful. One of the most boring off seasons that I can ever remember, and I'm just so happy to have hockey back here.
Unless you're a diehard baseball fan and tennis fan, this summer has been interesting because it's been rain and no news and a lot of baseball. It's really all we've had this offseason. So we're finally closing in on some Flames action. The rookies are coming to town to play the Oilers for a couple of nice games. So that'll be interesting, fun to watch.
I just want to point out the difference between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers organizations. For this rookie game.
One's awesome and one's not.
And I'm just going to prove why.
Okay.
For the rookie game on Friday in Edmonton, I believe tickets are $30 or $40 for a rookie game. And the game is going to be streamed on Oilers Plus, which is like you have to pay. It's like a subscription service. So you have to pay to watch the rookie scrimmage. You compare that to Calgary on the Sunday. Tickets are $10. All the proceeds go to charity, and they're going to stream the game for free on their website. Like, it just shows just what a horseshit organization the Edmonton Oilers are and how much they hate their fans.
And I think Daryl Katz is charging Oiler fans at home for their own popcorn as well, because that's the kind of organization he's running up there. Like that's ridiculous. Like,
is that terrible?
I'm not saying that the Flames are the greatest thing on the planet, but that's actually really nice, doing the proceeds part. Like, the money's going to charity, helping out, the people around the city of Calgary, positive community influence. You're showing off some rookie games. These guys are not playing on the NHL roster, but some of them might play eventually on the NHL roster. You're talking a lot of AHL guys, some ECHL guys. Other guys are probably going to go back to their junior camps. And you're going to charge these guys $35 for a ticket or whatever the subscription price is, and not do anything for charity and make it all about, okay, I guess if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. So good on the Flames for making this more of a charity enjoyment, a community building event, because that's awesome.
Yeah, and this is perfect for families. It's perfect for people that might not be able to afford NHL tickets. I mean, life is just so incredibly expensive right now. Not everybody can afford to pay, $100 and then, 15 for a beer and then parking and food. People they can't afford that these days. So now being able to go to the Dome and watch, some hockey for $10 there, like, that's awesome. And that's the way this should be. Like, even in Vancouver, they're doing their training camp in Penticton, and on like the Sunday, they're doing a scrimmage. They're charging fans $40 to go watch a training camp scrimmage. Like, it's just like, how greedy are these teams getting? Like, it's just gross. It's awful.
It's ridiculous. Flames are also, that game on Sunday is in Calgary. It's only at 4:00 in the afternoon, so that's very family-friendly time of day for a lot of people. Go take your kids out to see this awesome Prospects game, and then you're home in time to get them ready for school the next morning. Like, that's perfect for the Flames. And if I was in Calgary myself, I think that's exactly what I'd be doing as well, because that's awesome. So looking forward to those games. Looking forward to watching the streaming for the Flames games and watching those prospects. Try to impress. Try to impress before rookie camp opens and real camp opens. Try to make their name for themselves here. Let's dive into some new stuff here, Robert, real quick. Couple of things we got to catch up on that happened since the last podcast. We've had a signing, and we have a new coach in tow for the Flames. So Connor Zary signs a 3-year deal, just over $11 million in total dollar value. Pretty good deal for Connor Zary, 3.775 AAV. Pretty much in line with what we've been saying all along, Robert, on this contract. I like this deal. Now we can come to camp here. He can have himself a full camp, an opportunity to showcase what he's doing, and to make sure his knees okay, to make sure that he's ready to go. So good contract here for Connor Zary.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it's good for both sides. it allows Calgary to have 3 years to kind of figure out what exactly they're going to have long term in Connor Zary, whether he's going to be a top 6 forward, a center, a winger, a more defensive guy. We just, as of this moment right now, we just don't really know because he hasn't played a full season in the NHL yet. He had the injuries last year. It's a crowded forward group. There's not really a spot for him penned into the lineup this year. So, it's good for the Flames just to have the time to figure out what he's going to be. So, yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, I think both of us were saying, just get this deal done, get it in the 3.5 to 4 million range. It's right in the middle of those two things. I don't know why this deal took so long to happen. You hope Connor Zary's not pissed at the Flames because he thinks that he deserved more money than what he got. You hope that the relationship there is still good. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a fine deal. And like I said, it's just going to give them time to figure out what the heck this guy is.
And then Flames went ahead and they some unfortunate news for Brad Larson, that he had to step away from the team for some family reasons, and thoughts out to him and his family, whatever they're dealing with. I don't know. I haven't asked. I haven't heard. Not for me to say, but good luck to the Larson family. Wish them the best and all the well, which opened up a hole on the Flames coaching staff. So they went out and added themselves a guy who used to coach for this team, who played for this team. Dave Lowry, hired as an assistant coach for the Flames, I think fits in quite nicely with the Ryan Huska staff and what he brings in his experience behind the bench as well. Much a nicely added veteran behind the bench for the Flames here. What'd you make of the Dave Lowry signing for the Calgary Flames here?
Yeah, I mean, it makes nothing but sense. You take a look at the rest of the coaching staff, and Ryan Huska doesn't have a lot of NHL experience. Kale McLean doesn't. Trent Cull does not. He spent a little bit of time behind the Canucks bench, but overall, there's not a lot of head coaching or even assistant coaching experience at the NHL level on the staff as currently constructed. So to add a guy like Dave Lowry, who has been a head coach in junior, assistant coach in junior, he was even a player coach. During the 03-04 season, when he was on the Flames roster, he was injured and he was on the bench helping Daryl Sutter coach. This guy has so much experience, interim head coach in the NHL, associate coach in the NHL. He's done it all. So yeah, I think it's a really smart signing by the Flames. Adding that type of person to the organization, I think is great. I think it brings credibility. I think Dave, I think he really commands a room and he commands respect, which I really appreciate. And he just seems like a really good dude too. So yeah, I'm more than happy with the decision. It'll be interesting to see what exactly his role is going to be. I don't know if they've announced that yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's a smart move by the Flames. Dave's a good person and a good leader and been around the game his whole life. So I think it's a super smart decision by the team. And yeah, it's like a bit of a homecoming. I mean, I think he, between his time with the Calgary Flames and the Calgary Hitmen, he lived in Calgary for probably around 10 years. This is kind of his second home almost. And I know
he still does actually.
Oh, perfect. And
the interview he did with Pat Steinberg on the Fan 960 last week, he said they make their home in Calgary still. So
nice.
So kind of a local tie as well for Dave Lowry.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, yeah, they raised their kids here, and yeah, so this is awesome. I'm excited to have him back.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. I like how they worded it as well on the Fan 960. Pat Steinberg called him the deputy to the sheriff of Ryan Huska, and I like that. Yeah, I like that as an opportunity. So a guy that comes in here with some experience and help this coaching staff as well. So that's nothing but positives for the Flames there. So they look set at their coaching staff. They look set on their roster. They look set with rookies coming to town soon. The golf tournament, I believe, recording this on Monday, is tomorrow, so Tuesday. So we're getting into it really, really, really quick, Robert. So now is a great time for us to have a conversation about this season coming up, Robert, about what we expect from the Flames here. And kind of they have this goal of they want to be in the playoff mix. They want to be a playoff team. So just how do the Calgary Flames make the playoffs? How do they become this team that, as Ryan Huska puts it, is 1 point better than last year? A team that allows them to accomplish their goal of being a playoff team and to be in the mix here come the end of the season. So you and I kind of cobbled together a list of 5 things we believe that the Flames need to do in order to be a playoff team. And I'm going to start this conversation off with probably the easiest answer I could think of besides saying they need to score more, because that kind of is a given. I think for the Flames to be a playoff team this season, Robert, this team needs to be a team that has better special teams. And yes, the power play and the penalty kill both improved as the season went on last season, but they ended the season with the 19th overall power play at just 21%, which I guess some people would call that a good power play. And they ended the season on the PK with the 25th PK at 76.1%, which, yes, we saw it got a lot better at the second half of the season, especially in the last little stretch there after the Four Nations face-off. But a nice stretch and a good season on the special teams are two vastly different things here. I think the Flames need to find a way to get themselves into, I don't want to say top 10, because that's a lofty goals. You're talking about some really good power plays out there, like what Vegas can throw over the boards, like what Edmonton can throw over the boards, but the Flames can get themselves in the upper half of the league in the power play, and definitely you want a top 12, top 13 penalty kill to pair with that. Putting yourself in a situation to, make things easier for yourself. So if you have a power play that's in the top half of the league, you're clipping around that 23, 24% range, get a PK that's close to 80%. I think you're humming along here. You want to make sure that you have both sides of the puck on special teams working to make it easier your 5-on-5 play. This Flames team struggles to score 5-on-5. They just do. They have since, I don't know, Pierre Pagé was the coach way back in the early 2000s. They just have struggled to score 5-on-5. So if they can get a little bit of help from the power play, they have the personnel that should be able to score on the power play, and get a little help defensively on the PK, this team could go a long way to pushing their chips to the middle here to become a playoff team. So for me, point number one, get your special teams off to a good start and be consistent on them. We don't want this hot run and then go cold. You want a consistent power play, a consistent PK. Should go a long way to helping the Flames be a playoff team.
100%. And I think like the one thing you said there that I really liked was like the fact that the Flames, they're gonna have to find different ways to win hockey games, because they're not like the traditional team with superstars that can score a bunch of goals at 5-on-5 and can win games in 3-on-3 overtimes and shootouts. Like, this team's going to have to find different ways to win games, and a couple of those will be scoring on the power play and being a good penalty kill team. And like you said, they finished the season very strong on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
I was doing some research for an article last night, and I saw that from March 1st until the end of the season, which I believe was 22 games, the Flames were the best PK team in the NHL at 87.2%, and the next closest team was the Canucks at 85.
Mm-hmm.
So like they were the best by like 2%, which is really, really impressive. So, like I said, they're going to have to find different ways to win, and special teams is going to have to be, a big one for them, particularly the penalty kill. Like, if they can be in the top 10 of PKing, that's going to go a long way. And like you said, like, I just don't know if they have the talent to be a top half of the league power play, but if they can be like in the teens, like if they could be in like 19 through 17 or 16, like in that range, that'll go a long way in helping them make it for sure.
For sure. They took a lot of penalties last year too. They were the 8th most penalized team in the league, according to the ESPN stat that I found here, at 756 penalty minutes. So if you're going to be a top 10 penalized team, you got to make sure your PK is also got to be close to that top 10. You have to be able to kill off more than 75% of that, because if you're going to be shorthanded that often, you've got to find a way to negate that negative effect on your team here. So special teams for me is a really, really big one for the Flames. I have a lot of faith in Trent Collin, what he did with that power penalty kill at the end of the season here. Hopefully they can get a power play to match it, and hopefully they can find that consistency for it. Robert, your first point on what it would take for the Flames here to be a playoff team.
Yeah, you mentioned goal scoring, so I'll go in that direction, but it's not like just goal scoring in general, because I think the top of your lineup, I think you're pretty confident that guys like Huberdeau will be kind of a 20-goal, 50, 60-point guy. Kadri will be a 25, 30-goal guy. Coronado will probably push 30 goals. Those three guys I'm not concerned about when it comes to the offensive side of the game, because I just think they're going to bring that type of point production. For me, it's the middle of the lineup. It's the depth players. Those are the types of guys that are going to have to step up this year and really either play to like their career averages or even be a little bit above average. And for me, it's 5 specific forwards. It's Yegor Sharangovich, Connor Zary, Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee, and Martin Pospisil. Like, those 5 guys have to step up their goal scoring, because if you take a look last season, Sharangovich only had 17 goals, and that may sound okay on paper, but for a guy as talented as he is and who has as good a shot as he does, he needs to score more than 17 goals. Connor Zary had 13. Martin Pospisil had 4 in 81 games, despite playing in the top 9 for the overwhelming majority of the season. Like, that is simply not good enough for Martin Pospisil. I know he brings a lot to the table, but he needs to be like a 10-goal guy at least. And then you got Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, who each scored 3 goals during their time with the Flames, and that was in 32 and 31 games respectively. So, like, those 5 guys, they have to step up. Morgan Frost has got to be kind of a 15-goal, 50-point guy. Farabee's got to push 20. Zary's got to push 20. Pospisil's probably got to push 10 to 12. And then Sharangovich, you'd like to see him be in kind of the mid-20s and push 30.
Mm-hmm.
If those guys can step up and play to their potential and score at those types of rates that I'm talking about, all of a sudden this completely changes the dynamic of this team, because you'll add that secondary scoring to the high-end players that I had just mentioned prior to diving into this, and all of a sudden you have a pretty decent offensive team, a team that could probably finish, in the second third of the NHL in that kind of 20 to 10 range in goals scored. And with Dustin Wolf in net, all of a sudden you actually might be a half decent team. So I don't know if Huska's going to have to change up his system a little bit. I don't know if, I really don't know what is going to happen in order for these guys to get there, but it just has to happen. It really does. Mm-hmm. And from the perspective of making the playoffs, which is what the team's ultimate goal is this season. So yeah, for me, it's just those 5 guys, they have to be way better than they were last year, especially Frost and Farabee. That trade, like, the whole point of that trade basically was to help this team get into the playoffs. And if anything, those guys were 2 of the bigger reasons why they didn't make it last year, because they produced no offense. And then you look at Andrei Kuzmenko, who goes off to LA and outproduces both Frost and Farabee combined in his time with Los Angeles. So I mean, that was super disappointing, and I really, really hope that those 2 guys come into training camp pissed off, mm-hmm. wanting to prove people wrong, and wanting to be, those, like I said, 45 to kind of 50-point players. It's could be the difference between making the playoffs or not. Just that alone right there.
Yeah, really good point there by you. I really like that secondary scoring. Play to the back of your hockey cards. You remember the whole OPG or the upper deck cards you used to get and all the stats on the back? Play to what you're supposed to be. Play to what your league averages are. Play to what you're supposed to be on the back of your hockey cards. Like, if you're averaging 24 goals in your career, give us the 24 goals. Play to the back of your hockey card. The Flames finished 4th from the bottom in goals per game at 6.28. Teams just below them were Anaheim, San Jose, and Nashville. They finished behind teams like Chicago and the New York Islanders for scoring goals per game here. So a little bit more goal scoring. The secondary goal scoring would be key for the Flames. And this was in your notes you sent to me as Robert, and it's a really good point by you as well. Need some offense from the defense as well, a little bit maybe too, right? Like, absolutely. as long as Anderson's here, like, where's your offense gone? Use your shot. Mackenzie Weegar, I know he was pretty good last year for the Flames. Maybe a little bit more from him. What can Parekh bring to the lineup? What can we get from these other guys back there as well? So depth scoring is absolutely a massive key here on that one, Robert. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and if Weegar can go from 8 goals to 12, like, that would be great.
Yeah, we don't need the 20. We don't need the 20, but give us 10 to 15.
If Rasmus Anderson can continue to get in the double digits, that would be great. Like you said with Zane Parekh. Can Zane Parekh score 10 to 12 goals this year on the power play? Like, mm-hmm. that absolutely makes a massive difference if that can happen as well.
Can Miromanov score? I mean, what? No, just kidding.
The answer to that is no. Absolutely not.
Hopefully he's not even scoring for the Wranglers. Hopefully there's a nice spot in Europe for him. Anyways, I'm going to get sidetracked there. Another obvious thing that I think of when I think of teams trying to improve themselves is go to the most voodoo position in all of sports, and that's goaltending. I think goaltending will play a big role in what the Flames can do this season. If you can get Dustin Wolf to duplicate what he did in his rookie season, that's some pretty good goaltending for you. Some pretty good goaltending to to put the bat in the backs here. So I'm not going to focus on Dustin Wolf as much for this answer as some might think I will, because you know what you're getting from Dustin Wolf. You're going to get yourself a guy who's going to go out there and battle for you. He's going to, he's got a 2.64 goals per average goals against last year, a save percentage of 910. You can live with that goaltending as your number one guy. That's good enough to get the job done. 29 wins in 53 games is awesome. I really wonder what the Flames will get from their backup goaltending, and I think that can make a difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. Back when Mickey Kiprusoff was playing 75 games a year, you didn't really worry about those 7 games he didn't play or the 8 games he didn't play because you knew what Kiprusoff was bringing to the table. This is a different story. They're going to need Ivan Prosvetov or Devin Cooley, whoever it's going to be, to give them good NHL goaltending. Even if Dustin Wolf plays 62 games, that's still 20 games. That's 40 points on the table just sitting there that you have to take advantage of getting some of those points. You cannot just go 0 for 20 with your backup goaltender in the net. You have to get good goaltending from the backup, whoever it is. So 24 games for Prosvetov in the National Hockey League. He only has 8 wins and a 370 goals against average, an 881 save percentage. Hopefully they get better than that, because if you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to need a goaltender who's going to give your number one some rest, but it's also going to give you an opportunity to win those games that he is out there and playing in. That's what made Dan Vladar fairly good last season, and he got a lot of props for doing it. When Dustin Wolf got the night off, Dan Vladar went out there, he worked his tail off, and he scratched and clawed to get the Flames some victories. And they're going to need that again this year. So whoever goes in that net for the Flames, backup goaltending-wise, you're going to have to give them NHL-level goaltending. And I'm not saying go 20-0, but if you can give them some league average goaltending out of your backup goaltender, I think you're laughing, and I think that helps the Flames make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like you said, Dan Vladar's play from March onward was a major reason why the Flames had I think it was like 11-3-2 record down the stretch in their last 16 games. Like he was a big reason for that. And, with Cooley and Prosvetov, I mean, both guys are very unproven at the NHL level, and we don't really know what the heck we're gonna get from either one of those guys. And like you said, 40 points on the line. Like they're probably going to play in 20 to 22 games because NHL starters just don't play that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So those are big points. Those points count as much as every single other one. So yeah, it's gonna be super interesting to see how that all plays out. You listen to like 960 and the guys on there were saying that basically the Flames had told Prosvetov that if he signs with the Flames, that he's basically got the backup role. Like he's heading into training camp, it's his job to lose.
Yep.
Like Cooley's got to play out of his mind in order to get that job. So, it's just going to be interesting to see how Prosvetov plays, and can he pull off the similar numbers that he had in the KHL last year? Who the heck knows? But I'm definitely interested to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, if we're talking Miikka Kiprusoff, and you saw guys like Kurt McElhinney went 1 year was like 0-8 or something in his starts, and it didn't really affect the Flames. They still made the playoffs that year. They were still a fine team because Kiprusoff dragged them along. If you get 75 games out of Dustin Wolf this year, I'll be very surprised, but I'd also be surprised if he can will the Flames to victory playing 75 games as good as he is. So you're going to want to give Dustin Wolf the rest. You need your backups to perform. It's just how it is in the NHL. Your best goaltenders in the playoffs got the right rest at the right time. Connor Hellebuck's a really good goaltender, phenomenal goaltender, but we see him crash out in the playoffs because honestly, I believe he doesn't get enough rest in the regular season. As good as Eric Comrie can be for the Jets, maybe they need to play him more and give Hellebuck more rest because he flames out in the playoffs. We saw it back-to-back years here. So I think the Flames have to get a lot of good play out of their backup goaltender. And again, if you're getting a 900 save percentage and a goals against average of just under 3, you can live with that type of numbers out of a backup goaltender because you have an opportunity to win those hockey games. And that's all we need to really ask for from a backup goaltender.
I still want Cooley to be the backup. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I go back to last year's podcast when I was raving about Devin Cooley. I think a lot of what I said last year still is very relevant this year.
But it just feels like that he's not going to get it. Like I think that injury that basically derailed his second half of last year. I think that really put a dent in his chances to become the backup. If it was the opposite, like say he got injured at the very beginning of the season and then in the second half turned it on and was playing like an MVP caliber, it's a completely different story heading into this year. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and
it was just an unfortunate timing for that injury for him.
And I don't think they sign another goaltender if that's the case either.
I think you're probably right. I really think that injury and his play down the stretch really soured the Flames goaltending department, and it got to the point where they had to sign Prisvetov and basically tell him that it's his job to lose, which really sucks because I was cheering for Cooley. He just seems like a great dude, and I was so impressed with him, not only in training camp last year, but also just the first 3 months of the AHL season. He was so good. Yep. He was just making ridiculous saves. Like, he was incredible, but that injury really it really did him in, unfortunately.
Yeah, he showed why the Flames signed him, and now it feels like he has to re-earn it by going out and doing something very similar, because you never know what happens, right? You could, knock on wood, of course, there could be injuries, and he could still be counted on down the stretch for the Flames somewhere. So if he can go up there and reestablish himself and have a really good training camp in preseason and start wherever he starts the season, get off to a flying start, maybe he does earn himself some jobs, and maybe he is part of the backup goaltending we're talking about here on the podcast today of giving the Flames some good, solid backup goaltending. We saw what he is capable of in the HL last year. We saw it, and it should translate. That type of athleticism and confidence does translate for a lot of guys here, and I think it will do the same thing for Devin Cooley if he gets the opportunity here.
Yep, yeah, 100%.
All right, your second point there, Robert.
So it has to do with the defense, and it's basically that this upcoming season they can't have a defenseman have an off year. So you go back to last year, and it was Rasmus Andersson. As we all know, he struggled mightily last year. We don't really know why. I know down the stretch there he was playing through an injury, but everybody plays through injuries. Like Mackenzie Weegar was basically playing through a broken foot in the middle of the season, but nobody talked about that. But Anderson plays through a broken foot at the end of the year, and he's a hero. I don't know how that happened, but
give him the Norris.
So like last year, like I know plus minus isn't the best stat, but he was minus 38. Not even the next closest Flame, but just like the next closest defenseman was Tyson Barrie at minus 7.
Barrie.
How do you go from your one defenseman being minus 38 and then the next closest defenseman being minus 7? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. So, we saw him struggle. There were a lot of bad reads in the D zone last year. There wasn't a lot of offensive generation outside of the first month of the season. He looked off, and I don't really know why that was. There are times when players just have down years. It does happen to players, but if the Flames want to make the playoffs this year, that can't happen again. Like a guy like Mackenzie Weegar cannot have an off year. A guy like Kevin Ball cannot take a step back. Anderson has to get back to just playing at his career average, like he was, the previous 4 seasons to last. Joel Hanley has to step up. He has to be the player that he was in the second half of last season. And then you're going to need Zane Parekh to produce some offense, and you're going to need Braden Pahal and Jake Bean and those types of guys to just give you solid minutes. I don't think that this D-core is good enough where one guy, particularly in the top 4, can have an off year and this team survives. I really don't see it happening. Last year, if Rasmus Andersson was just like normal Rasmus Andersson, they easily make the playoffs. Make the playoffs. Yep. No doubt in my mind, because he probably would have got an extra 10 to 15 points and would have been on the ice for a lot of goals against, fewer compared to last season. So this year, it's like they have to play to their career average. They have to play above average. What they can't do is have like the worst year of their career. They can't have that serious drop off like Rasmus Andersson did last year. I think that's going to be critical for this team if they want to make the playoffs.
They need guys to step up as well, right? On paper, this defense to me is not great. It's not great. And if you trade away Rasmus Andersson, you're 2 top 4 defensemen away from having a top 4. So you need guys to come out here and to provide you with solid minutes. You need Mackenzie Weegar to go out there. I don't think you need a career year from Mackenzie Weegar, but you need a nice solid season like we saw last year from Mackenzie Weegar. You need Kevin Ball to build on what he did last year. You're praying that Hanley can give you what he gave you at the second half of last season. You're praying how Pahal started last year, you can get out of him for the full season. Jake Bean can be an average NHL defenseman who can give you positive minutes. And you're hoping that a rookie or two, starting with Parekh, can come in here and give you NHL minutes as he continues to learn the league. And I really also wonder about, can the Flames get something out of a Kuznetsov or a Solovyov? And when they get into the lineup, can they give them the value that they need to be a successful franchise? This Flames defense is not deep. There's a lot of names there, but I don't think they're deep in far as in terms of skill and elite defensemen. They just don't have Norris guys on the back end there. They just don't have them yet. We'll see what Parekh can become. We'll see what Brstavich can become down the line. But they have these guys that should be good enough to defend at the NHL level. We saw some really good pie play out of Kevin Ball at times last year. We saw Hanley play above his abilities last year. Mackenzie Weegar, we're all in love with Mackenzie Weegar. Well, you need to see more Mackenzie Weegar. Keep going, guys. Very valid point here. I think a lot of this Flames season, whether we see regression or not from other areas of the Flames, your forwards, your goaltending, I think this Flames defense could be the biggest factor in this Flames team being in the playoff race, being a playoff team, or falling right out of it. So a really good valid point by you, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of straight up, they just don't have the elite talent that can carry a defense core right now. I mean,
yeah,
they don't have the Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen, all these top end defensemen in the NHL that can carry a pairing by themselves. Like, you can put whoever you want beside them and they're going to dominate their minutes. Mackenzie Weegar is great. Like, I would argue he's a top 25 defenseman in the NHL, which is awesome,
sure.
but
yeah,
he's not that stud number one that can elevate the rest of that D-core almost by himself. It's just the reality of the situation. So, you hope Parekh can become a guy like that one day. You hope maybe one of Muse or Brstavich or Warren or all these kinds of guys, maybe they can become a top pairing defenseman one day. But for this season right now, it's not a deep group. It's not the most talented group. So that's why all of them, they're going to need to all play really well this year if they're going to want to make the playoffs. They can't have that fall off.
We talk about what Rasmus Andersson can bring to this lineup. We talk about what you need from Rasmus Andersson this year, which brings me into my final point here, Robert, is if and when the Flames do move Rasmus Andersson, Craig Conroy needs to capitalize on the assets. If you're going to trade away Rasmus Andersson, we just spent the time here talking about how we don't see the depth to this defensive group. You need more than just Mackenzie Weegar pulling the wagon here. I think trading Rasmus Andersson, like they say they're going to do no matter what, is going to be a very big turning point in this Flames season. So I think Craig Conroy holds a lot of keys in what he's going to do with this Rasmus Andersson move, that he has to capitalize the asset. And I'm not saying you make sure you bring back a top two defenseman in that type of trade, but you got to make sure that you're in a position to continue to help your team progress towards the playoffs. It's going to be a fascinating trade when and if it happens. To see what the Flames get back for Rasmus Andersson, because if you're in a playoff spot and you want to be a playoff team, you're taking away what should be your second best defenseman out of this lineup. And you do that across the league. And a lot of these playoff bound teams, especially those fighting for the wild card spots, they're going to struggle to continually be in that situation, in that spot, because you're taking away the second best defenseman. That's a minute muncher. That's a point producer. That's a leader on your back end. And so for me, I think a really big key to this Flames season is, if they're true to their word of we want to be a playoff team and we're going to do everything in our power to be a playoff team, you got to maximize Rasmus Andersson. And I'm not sure how you maximize Rasmus Andersson and continually put yourself in a playoff chase, in a playoff race. So that for me is very interesting how they're going to do it. And he's not the only one, Robert, either. Any other moves, maybe there's another move he's going to out there make to help bring in a defenseman for the Flames. Make sure that you're being smart about your asset management in season for this Flames team, knowing your goal is to be a playoff team. Defenseman out, defenseman in. It's got to work somehow like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Craig Conroy juggles his assets and tries to maximize what he has here in Rasmus Andersson and other guys here.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with the plan that Craig Conroy has in place, which is to drive for a playoff spot, remain competitive while adding younger bodies to the lineup, he's going to put himself in tricky situations like he's done here with Rasmus Andersson.
100%.
Because because like you mentioned, if they trade Rasmus Andersson between now and say like the beginning of November, you can pretty much say that the season is over from a playoff perspective. Because you take Andersson away from this group, all of a sudden it becomes one of the worst defense cores in the NHL. That's just kind of how important he is to the group and how little depth there is right now, right? So Conroy's put himself in this situation where he wants to be competitive, but he also wants to get a lot for the asset. So it almost feels like he kind of has to hold on to Andersson in order to keep the Flames in the mix and then kind of trade him closer to the deadline and still get some assets for him. That's almost like the impression I'm getting here from this whole situation. So
yeah,
it's tricky. And if the Flames were a little more forward thinking, and if they were building a little bit more towards the future and were willing to, not be super competitive and driving for a playoff spot for a few years, Andersson probably would have been traded by now. They probably would have got a ton of assets for him, but now they're stuck with him. They have to hope and pray that he doesn't get hurt this year. And, when they do trade him, they're going to have to try to find a suitable replacement, which isn't going to be easy, like you were saying. Yep. So it's a really tricky situation from Conroy's perspective. I don't know what exactly they're going to do, but I mentioned it in one of our podcasts. I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago, where I was like, the best situation from a competitiveness standpoint might be hold on to Rasmus Andersson, use him, allow him to help you stay competitive and drive for a playoff spot. And then by the time the trade deadline rolls around, you move him out for assets. And then that allows Zane Parekh about 4 or 5 months to get used to the NHL game and prepare himself to take on top 4 minutes after the trade deadline. That might be the best way for the Flames to go about this thing. The other thing that could happen is maybe they trade him to Dallas and a Leon Bushel or Ilya Lyubushkin comes back in the deal and there's a kind of a suitable replacement right there. Maybe something like that could happen, but yeah, man, it's tough. Conroy's going to put himself in this situation again and again and again and again because of this plan that they have where it's, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. It really is. And I do think what Conroy's doing, it can work, but there are instances like this with Rasmus Andersson where I kind of really shake my head. I'm like, what are we doing here? So that's kind of my Andersson rant.
I like it because I'm going to rant too. I like Conroy and I like what he's saying. And of course, he's going to say he wants to be a playoff team because what a general manager is not going to go sewer his own season. He's just not going to say, yeah, we're going to suck. It's just not going to happen. But he's putting himself between a rock and a hard place here in this Rasmus Andersson situation because you want to maximize the assets for a Rasmus Andersson. Well, you might have to use those exact assets to turn around and try to find another defenseman to bring in here to help the group. Your Zane Parekh example is best case scenario that Zane Parekh is ready to jump in there. And yeah, it definitely very much could happen because what Zane Parekh has done is nothing but grow every single year and show that he's ready. Every single time he gets proved, there's a chance he just jumps hurdles over and over. That's what he's done. So you're trying to be a playoff team, but you're trying to maximize an asset. It's almost as if they're trying to hedge their bets here, but it's like, why don't we just take a step back here, trade this asset in the offseason, and then you spend the offseason trying to fill that hole, that void. There was multiple guys in free agency they could have signed, not as sexy as Rasmus Andersson's name out there, but there's guys that could come in here and be a good NHL veteran. I know they tried to sign a couple guys that didn't happen, but that can happen. There's other trades you can make and things you can do. So for the Flames to be successful this season and to be a playoff team, they're either going to need Rasmus Andersson to be Rasmus Andersson and play that guy till they trade him and then hopeful that someone's ready to take over those minutes, or they're going to have to do a St. Louis Blues special, I call it, where you trade an asset, turn around and use the pieces you got to bring in another asset to help you be a playoff team. If they trade Rasmus Andersson for just future players, future prospects, things like that, then you're really not going to be a playoff team because you take away anyone's second best defenseman. It's hard for them to cover up for the loss of a defenseman. It just is across the National Hockey League, especially those teams like the Flames that are in that middle ground there. Like Vancouver loses their second best defenseman, they're sewered. Winnipeg loses their second best defenseman, I think they're sewered. So it's a fine line Conroy's trying to walk here. I hopefully he doesn't put himself in the corner here, because the worst thing that will happen is you go post-trade deadline, the Flames are in a playoff spot or just out of a playoff spot, and Rasmus Anderson's still on the team, right? Then you've done nothing with the asset, and now you're hoping to be a playoff team as well. So we'll see what happens here for the Flames. But to be a playoff team, man, Craig Conroy, you've got some work to do, because it's just not going to solve. The problem's not going to solve itself.
Yeah, and like just the last thing I'll add to this conversation is, I'd mentioned that, maybe the best way of going about this from a competitiveness standpoint is holding on to Anderson and then moving him at the deadline, and then you put Perek in. But here's the thing that worries me, and we've talked about this before. It's just, what happens if this team is in a playoff spot come the trade deadline, and now all of a sudden,
that's
Craig Conroy, he has Rasmus Anderson on the roster. Rasmus is an important player to the team. Craig Conroy is now in the position where he has to be the bad guy, and he has to make the tough decision that's going to piss off every single player in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Conroy is going to do it, because Conroy was a player, and he'll put himself in those guys' shoes and be like, if I was Mackenzie Weegar, Michael Backlund right now, or whoever it may be, I would be pissed if they traded Rasmus Anderson, because we're trying to make the playoffs. We're playing our balls off all year to put ourselves in the position to be where we are. And now you're going to take away our second best defenseman? Like, are you kidding me? Can Craig Conroy handle making a decision like that? I think it's a fair question to ask, because he is a player's guy. Like, he's like a player's general manager. He was a player. He's been in their shoes. Come the deadline. Like, what if the players tell him, like the leadership group goes and meets with him and says, do not trade Rasmus. We're in a playoff mix. The culture is great. And in order for the culture to remain where it is, we can't move out a guy like Rasmus. All of a sudden, Conroy's in a really tough situation. And once again, this is why you need to get ahead of these things instead of holding on to these players for so long. It's because he's going to put himself in difficult situations that's going to make him really uncomfortable. And who knows what's going to happen. And he might even have pressure from ownership, like not even just the players. He might have pressure from ownership to keep a guy like Rasmus around. And whether that means holding on to him for a playoff run or paying him $8 million on an 8-year extension because Murray Edwards wants to get in the playoffs so bad. Like, those are real possibilities when it comes to this guy. And I hope it doesn't get to that point. I really don't, because for the long-term sake of this franchise, you can't be letting guys like Rasmus dictate future plans and all that kind of stuff. You really can't.
We've seen this movie before more than once.
Yeah, we have, for sure.
That's what gives a lot of Flame fans pause. It's what gives me pause. That's why I was so adamant around the draft. You got to take advantage of the opportunity. You got to take advantage of the situation, because they say they're going to trade Rasmus no matter what. But I'm with you, Robert. What happens if this team is the first wild card come the trade deadline, and Rasmus Anderson's having himself a pretty good season? He's up to say he's got 12 goals and 40 points, and he's showing that he is Rasmus Anderson again. What do you do? Like, what do you do? Do you have the gall to trade that guy still and maximize the effort, and then sewer what you guys have been doing so far this year? They're going in. I never got when the Flames were saying that they were comfortable going into the season with Rasmus Anderson on the Flames. I understand he's got a limited no trade and he nicks to trade somewhere else. It doesn't matter. There's still 26 teams around this league that he can be traded to. 25 teams that he can be traded to without saying no. And yeah, you want an extension if you're a team acquiring Rasmus Anderson, but at the same time, there's teams out there that'll take a rental. There are teams out there that you can make a trade with. There are teams out there that you can talk to. And so you get one less draft pick, or the draft pick's a third instead of a second in part of a deal. Those are things you have to try to maneuver around if you're Craig Conroy. Now you're putting yourself in one of the worst situations you can do. And I pray and hope that this Flames team is successful, because I'm a Flames guy. That's what I like to see. I want to see this Flames team in the playoffs. I love Flames playoff hockey. It's a lot of fun. But for the sake of Craig Conroy, you kind of hope that they're not in the playoff mix, because it'll make his job a lot easier. But at the same time, you got to play that ball now. You've played your cards, and now you've got that distraction to the trade deadline or whenever you make this trade, and you're hoping that you can maximize these assets, that someone else can step up and maximize that role that Rasmus Anderson plays for you to be what you want to do at the end of the year, and that's 1 point better than last year and be a playoff team. It's hard to see them playing both sides of the column here, but that's what they're trying to do, and we'll see how it works out here, Robert.
Yes, we will.
All right, let's go do something fun now, Robert. We've had our Serious Flames conversation. We've had our rants, and it was a great conversation. But you went to social media today and asking for some listener questions and such so forward. So what do our listeners have for us here on social media?
Yeah, I mean, just number one, thank you to everyone that submitted a question. That was great. I was messaging John before the episode. I'm like, should we do this? Like, is anyone even going to respond? And yeah, we got a lot of great questions, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll start with Calder Zary, which is a great name. His name's awesome. Tyler Markle. He asks, what is a realistic floor and ceiling for the standings this season for the Calgary Flames, in your opinion? And then he mentions, I can only see this team being somewhere in the middle again. So I'll throw it to you. What do you think's a realistic floor and ceiling in terms of points in the standings this year for the Flames?
Someone's been around the Flames a long time saying that he only sees the middle because, well, that's kind of where I see it as well. I don't see this team falling as far down as a bottom 10, and I don't see this team being in the top 3 of the Pacific Division. So I really do feel like this team is a wild card team, or they're a just miss type of team. So I see them in that nice murky middle that we all know and love and we're very familiar with. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Flames are picking, in that 15, 16, 17 range come the draft again.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I would say the ceiling for the team is, in terms of points, like if Dustin Wolf continues to develop and he continues to grow his game, and then you just add a little bit more scoring to this team, like those guys in the middle 6 I had mentioned earlier in the episode, I do think they could be like 100-point team, but so much has to go right in order for that to happen. So I'll say their ceiling, like this is like if pretty much you're checking boxes for everything that needs to go right for this team. If a lot of them are checked, I could see this team pushing 100 points in the standings and maybe 3rd in the Pacific Division, and then a floor. I think they're one injury away from being a train wreck. I think they're one injury from Mackenzie Weegar, Nazem Kadri, Dustin Wolf. If one of those 3 guys goes down for an extended period, I think they're in big trouble. So I could see their floor being like 70 points. Like I really think the range of outcomes for this team this year could be anywhere from 70 to 100 points in the standings. That's just how weird and wild and crazy that this Calgary Flames team is right now, and just how it is in the NHL these days. So
it feels a lot like last year's conversation all over again.
Even heading into the year, I didn't think their ceiling would be as high as it was. Like I thought their ceiling could have been maybe like 88 or 90 points.
Yeah, fair.
So I think the bar has been raised because of what they did last year, but I would agree with you. The most realistic place that they're going to finish in the standings is in that mushy middle again, for sure.
Come on, 9th spot.
All right, next question. We got Matt Sopkow on Twitter. He asked, does Nazem Kadri finish out his contract with the Flames? If not, when is the best time to trade him, balancing the team's desire to remain competitive with a declining return the older he gets? So do you think Nazem Kadri finishes out this contract with the Flames? And if not, when do you think they're going to move him? I believe Kadri's got 4 years left on his deal, making $7 million a year. So do you think he finishes that deal in Calgary?
Oh boy, that's a good question. If they don't trade him by the draft, then yes. I think if he has any sort of a down season this year for the Flames and he's not nearly what he was last year, I don't think there's as much value there for a guy like Nazem Kadri. The way he talks about being in Calgary and he chose Calgary and he wants to be part of the solution here in Calgary, the way Craig Conroy talks about how they love having Nazem around, I think he does finish this contract out in Calgary. He's won his cup, so maybe that helps him stay in Calgary as well. But if I were the Flames on the flip side, I'd be trying to move him. I would have really tried to move him based off what he did last year, because that's a lot of value walking out the door right now if you don't trade him right around now, because I don't know how much we're going to get more out of Kadri. Like, I'm not saying he's going to fall off this year, but is this the last year you get of solid, good Nazem Kadri before the decline hits? Because Father Time's coming. And when it hits, I don't think it's going to be pretty for Nazem Kadri. I really don't, just based on the way that he plays the game. But I don't know. I think he does finish the contract out, though, because I don't see the Flames making that move.
I'll go in the other direction. I'll say that he does not finish the contract in Calgary, and the reason why is because he is such a competitive guy. And like not to be a downer, I still think the Flames are a long way away from being a true competitor. You know, they're the type of team that can sneak into the playoffs right now. I don't know if that's good enough for a guy like Nazem Kadri. Like I really think that whether it's this summer or next summer, he will go to the Flames at some point and he will ask them to be moved to a contender. And because he has that full no move, he's going to have, you know, full reign on that decision making process. And I really believe that, yeah, either next summer or the summer after that, Kadri's going to go to management and say, trade me to a contender. I only have a few years left in my career. I want to win a cup. I don't think the Flames winning cycle lines up with Kadri's contract, if I'm being totally honest. So I'll say no. I'll say that he does not finish as a Calgary Flame.
I like your line of thinking more than mine, but I've seen this before with the Flames, right? So I'm a little bit more down on Flames moving out guys like that, because I've just seen them hold on to guys too long, and it's just guys finish out their career. We've seen it more and more than once, and it kind of makes you a little bit jaded when it comes to guys like Nazem Kadri. Good player, good guy. I brought a lot to the Flames organization, so hopefully we get more from Nazem Kadri here.
All right, next question's from Sea of Red Central. It's kind of a similar sort of question that we just talked about with Kadri, and he had said that there seems to be an abundance of teams in the NHL looking for a second-line center, which is very true, especially in Canada. When you look at the Canadians, the Jets, the Canucks, you know, those are three teams that are in desperate need of a second-line center. So he basically asks, like, if the Flames fall behind early this year and they're out of a playoff spot, is this going to be the year to trade a center? So whether that's Kadri, whether that's Backlund, whether that's Frost, if they fall behind the standings and it's pretty clear that they're not going to be a playoff team, is this the year to move out one of those guys?
Justin, that's a great question. I like Justin. He's a great follow on Twitter. The answer would be yes, because the Flames have the centers to trade. Like, they have a Nazem Kadri who'd be a great second line center in a number of places. Say Carolina comes to mind for me. Frost could be a nice depth add for somebody if they're ready to go down that road. So it definitely would be something that I would look at if I was a general manager. I just don't know if the Flames are that team that are going to do that type of thing. We haven't really seen them take advantage of that outside of the year they moved on from Curtis Glencross and the year they moved on from Chris Russell. You don't really see them move out guys like that for assets. It just, unless they're really, really right out of it and the guy wants to leave, I just don't see it. But I definitely would be, if I was in charge of the Flames, be looking, and I wouldn't hold back any center from a deal, to be honest.
I would not either. And for me, it would be one of the two veterans. It would be Kadri or it would be Backlund. And I know Michael Backlund wants to, you know, retire as a Flame and he wants to play in the new building. You know, Nazem Kadri has talked about his dedication to the city, which is great, but at some point, like if they're really out of it and it's obvious that they're just not a playoff team this year, they have to move one of those guys, and they have to put Connor Zary at center. They can't quit messing around with Zary in his position. They have to put him at center and give him a legitimate chance to be there. So yeah, if they're like way out of it, like we're talking bottom 5 of the league and in December and like there's really no hope, yeah, I would seriously look at moving one of Backlund or Kadri for sure.
I would hope they would. I really would hope they would.
I hope so too, but I mean, you just never know with this ownership group in particular.
Yeah. Going based off of the past, I would say that both are back next season. That's just how it would be in the past, and I think this is a good season for the Flames as well to finally make a statement as well as where Connor Zary is going to play. Is he a center? Is he a winger? And if you move out one of those two guys, that really helps you make that decision. It really helps give you an opportunity to look at Zary at center ice too. So if they're out of it, make the move.
Yep, I'm with you. Noah Adler asks, what's most likely to happen? The Flames make the playoffs or they're in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes? Which is actually it's a really good question.
It depends on their injury situation. If this is a healthy team, then they're closer to the playoffs. If they get the injury to a Nazem Kadri or to a Mackenzie Weegar and they've traded out Rasmus Anderson, then they're closer to the sweepstakes. Do they win the sweepstakes? Probably not. But if tell me their health situation and I'll give you your answer. So if they're healthy, playoffs. If they're not healthy, then they'll fall out.
I think I would say that it's more likely that they would make the playoffs, and the number one reason why is Dustin Wolf. I know this has been a talking point for the last season ever since Dustin Wolf emerged as a legit elite goaltender. Like, how far can you fall in the standings if you have Dustin Wolf? It's a fair question to ask.
Yep.
And if he's starting like 60 to 65 games this year, I just have such a hard time seeing them being in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. And I'm talking like a bottom 5 pick. I just think Dustin Wolf makes this team's floor a lot higher than that. So based off of Wolf and just how good he is, I'll say that it is more likely that the Flames make the playoffs than are in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes.
Yeah, I agree.
Gurpal Singh, Mr. Rebuild himself, he asks, when are we predicting that Anderson gets traded?
Deadline. The trade deadline. The Flames have said it. That's pretty much what they said. They're going to hold on to this guy, and unless someone knocks some socks off, because Conroy's trying to maximize the asset, I don't think we see it much before the trade deadline. And based on how the cap's going to start working going forward as well and recruiting cap space, I think it's trade deadline. I don't see it happening for that. They've missed so many opportunities already to trade Rasmus Anderson that until it happens another time, I'll be dead set on the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The only way I could see him getting moved before that is if we have like a Vancouver Canucks Elias Lindholm situation where they just offer just an insane trade package that you literally cannot say no to.
Yeah.
Prior to the deadline, like they did with Lindholm. Like I think Lindholm got traded like the end of January or whatever it was. So yeah, if someone comes to them with an offer that's pretty wild, I could see them trading Anderson, within the first month or two of the season. But I just don't see it happening.
Unless, I guess the one thing I'll add to that is if there's, say, a big training camp injury, say Zach Werenski goes down in Columbus and they need someone to play the right side and they come to Calgary with a really good offer, I could see that type of situation happening. But other than that, it's got to be the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just that whole mandate of being competitive, like I just don't know. I don't know how this team's competitive without Anderson on the roster. I really don't. So
yeah, same here.
They're, like I said, they're just going to be praying and they're going to have to hold their breath and just hope that Anderson doesn't get hurt this year. And, Anderson's been incredibly durable during his time in the National Hockey League. Like if you go back and look, like he's barely missed games.
Yep.
But I mean, you just take a look at last year, all it takes is one shot to the foot and boom, there goes his trade value. So once again, tough situation Conroy's putting himself in, but he's doing it to himself. So hopefully it all works out and they do move Anderson and they get a lot for him. But who knows, man? Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Last question. Matt Layden asks, when will Sportsnet hire someone to replace Ryan Leslie? So I just did a little bit of digging on this prior to the episode here, and Sportsnet last year, they announced all like their play-by-play teams and regional schedules on September 17th. So my guess is that they'll probably announce it early next week, like Monday, like a week today.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my guess as to when they'll announce someone. And I still think the favorite has to be Brendan Parker. Number one, I'd be surprised if it wasn't Brendan Parker. Number two, I'd be shocked if it was someone outside of Calgary. I would be really surprised if they gave it to someone outside the city because there's a lot of good local options for that job right now.
Yeah, there is. They're going to want someone in place before these preseason games get kicking off on the 21st.
Exactly.
So I would expect an announcement in the next week or so because you're going to want someone prepared for the job. And I'm with you. For me, it's Ryan Parker. We talked about this last week on the podcast as well. It's got to be Ryan Parker.
Brendan.
Brendan. Where am I getting Ryan Parker from?
Oh, Ryan Leslie.
Oh, my word.
I see where you're coming from.
Mr. Parker is perfect for the job. He does a really good job on Flames TV, and I apologize to Brendan for messing up his name about 1,000 times. Really good guy, and then he deserves a shot. So I would expect an announcement in the next week too. I'm with you on that one, Robert.
Yeah. So I would say September 15th. Look for sometime next week, but yeah, the 15th, 16th, 17th, one of those days before the preseason starts. So that's it for questions. Once again, thank you very much to everybody that submitted one. That was fantastic. Really appreciate that, and was great for filling time on the pod today.
Yeah, it's awesome. I haven't done a question and answer type thing since my last show, so it's awesome to dive back into a mailbaggy type segment. So appreciate everyone for taking the time out to do that. We definitely got to do that again, Robert.
For sure.
Appreciate your listens. Appreciate those subscribing and things. Again, our summer episodes, for some odd reason, have been the most listened to ones that we've done. So we're really looking forward to this season. Really looking forward to seeing where we can take this podcast this coming up season, Robert, and seeing where what we can do on this thing and chatting flames with everybody every single day. So appreciate everyone tuning in and making us part of your podcast rotations, follows, likes. Make sure you tell your other fellow Flame fans as well. There's more than one skin in the game here, and we're one of them. And we appreciate talking Flames every single week with you all. Robert, what is coming up from you on flamesnation.ca, and where can the folks find you and your work?
Yeah, I mean, I basically just stole this idea for an article. The 5 things that need to happen in order to make the playoffs. I wrote an article about it last night. So yeah, that should be coming out on Tuesday morning. So check that out. It's flamesnation.ca.
So listen to the pod before you read Robert's article, so it's fresh. I'm Vintage Johnny 84 across social media platforms. Of course, the show is Red Mile Rundown on those same social media platforms. We appreciate everyone for making us part of your rotations. We'll see you next week on the show, where we will be chatting a little bit about the rookie games coming up this week. Excited Flames Hockey is back. Enjoy the hockey, folks. We will see you in